Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dot to Dot. Today, I'm going to talk about the last two artifacts on Oak Island, the stone wall on Lot 26, and also a little bit about the quadrilateral, the Great Quadrilateral, as they call it. And I'll give you a little bit of insight of what I think they may be. It's very interesting, and we'll go to Google Earth on my artifacts chart and lot 26, this is actually the location of the well. I'm not quite sure where the stone wall is, but so this is the stone wall, a picture of the stone wall. And I'll open an image here. And they say that this is of Portuguese origin because of the construction. And that's very interesting. I think it's pretty factual. Also, that this stone wall was dated between, I think it was 1474 and 1538. And it is basically a wall that we don't know what it is for, or if it was a foundation or some kind of ramp or something to keep cattle in, or maybe the oxen. We don't know. But they did find a twig that was burnt underneath this wall at the very bottom, basically at the start of the construction. And they did a carbon dating that it was 1474 to 1538. Now, that has a big significance to me in my research. One of the things that I did in the past was I did a interpolation of what is called magnetic variation. And this data was taken from NOAA for the location of Oak Island. But in this study, what I did is I had to reverse the trend of the declination or the magnetic variation of the Earth from 1590 backwards, because the data from NOAA only goes back to 1590. So if we take that data from 1590 and go backwards in time to assume that the Earth's variation follows a sine wave. In other words, it goes up a certain amount and then to a peak and then it comes down. You may get a little bit of an insight of when the declination or magnetic variation was 21 degrees. And this is what I did. And this is the dates that I were able to extrapolate from this technique. 1450, and also to a period of about 1525. So these are lines that come from 21 degrees, and these other lines are basically just median lines of the data variation here. So this is interesting to me that the wall falls within that date. Now, where do I get the 21 degrees? Well, the 21 degrees, first of all, comes from first source is from a person called Philip Stevenson, who was on the Curse of Oak Island show about a couple of years ago, I believe. And this is the French interpretation of the cipher of the note that he got. And it says minus 21 degrees. The note is up here, and the note is in the cipher, the same as La Formula and the same as the 90-foot stone. And it says here, it is a north datum adjustment. So this is the note. And when you translate it into a language using a substitution method, the same as the 90-foot stone and the formula, you get that translation of minus 21 degrees. Now, another thing about 21 degrees is that in my study with the Nolan's stone piles, Now, Fred Nolan did a survey back, I believe, in the 70s of these stone piles that he had, and in those stone piles, he uh, you can find that it has a 21 degree magnetic variation, perhaps from this line here. Now, these stone piles, this one goes up to what is called the 429 extension. This is part of the Rochefoucauld map interpretation, where we extend the distance of 429 feet from the headstone to a point out here. And the other east-west is to cone A, and that is from this point. Now, this angle right in here, which I believe is the magnetic variation, is 21 degrees. Now, one of the important facts about why these 2 points on Nolan's cross and its extension are called out is the 429 extension, as you'll see in a minute, is the key is the index stone for the discoveries on the west side of the island. And then cone A is the place where the 45-degree angle, which is mentioned in the formula and also shown by the north arrow of the Rochefoucauld map, begins at cone A. So these are very significant indexed points on Nolan's cross and from the extension of Nolan's cross. So very interesting. This is where the dates really come into play here. Now, the next one is the Great Quadrilateral. Now, the Great Quadrilateral is located here. Now, how did I get this location? I'm not sure, quite positive about this location, but if it is in this location, it is highly significant. One thing about the quadrilateral is its geometric shape. And this is a drawing that was done by Fred Nolan when he unearthed it. I doubt if it's in this configuration anymore. I hope that they did take some GPS, or there is something that gives us the location of the corners. Now, mine's cut off a little bit, but I did put in the dimensions there. But this location comes from John Stemmer, and he had a piece of information that he acquired from Brian Farrow. Now, Brian Farrow was the last, he was on this season's Quest of Oak Island, or the Curse of Oak Island, and he sent in this location of the quadrilateral. Now, this overlay that I've done from this screenshot is overlaid through the geographic locations and not necessarily Brian Farrow's Nolan's cross. And you can see that I have this very seamlessly located. The background moves a little bit because of the foliage, but if you concentrate on the roads, you can see that it's pretty fairly located fairly well. And you can see on the edges here, and this is how I do the overlays. I do it by landmarks. So as far as Google Earth goes and the relative position of this screenshot, I think I have a pretty good have it pretty well located according to Brian Farrow. Now, another interesting thing about this is Brian Farrow did a very good job of sizing it. So here's the lines, and all these lines basically correspond to the measurements, this being 24 degrees, or 24 feet, and this one being 16 feet, and this one being 32 feet. But I could not get this one to be 27 feet according to Fred Nolan's drawing. It wasn't possible, but it is 28 feet rather than 27. So this is an interesting location because it does some amazing things geometrically, and it fits into the basically the Rochefoucauld scenario where we have the locations that we need to locate out on the west side of the island, namely the hole under the trapdoor, the valve, and the triangle. And these are all associated with cone E. And if you do, I'll put this, the whole thing up there. So this is what it does, basically, is it gives us a reference to certain geometric angles that go from, that start from the 429 extension. And the 429 extension goes east, and this lines up with the angular portion of the quadrilateral, and it goes out to pretty much due east. It's about 0.1 degrees off of due east to triangle 2. And the other thing is when you extend those lines from the quadrilateral, if you extend them out to this point, this is a point that is equal in distance from triangle 2 to cone E. It goes through cone E and triangle 2. So this is very interesting in that it gives us two equal parts that allow us to calculate the distance from cone E to triangle 2. Now the other thing is it goes from the 429 extension through the top. Now it's off just a little bit in this measurement. It's less than a foot, so I can totally tolerate that. It's about 6.64 feet. So this is something that's acceptable. And it goes out through cone C. Cone C is part of this. And what it does is it gives us this, since we know the distances between cone C and the headstone, and from the headstone we have the 429 extension, it gives us an angular ability to calculate the angle, which is 40 degrees here. And this 40 degrees corresponds to the what I call the big triangle, which is going out. And we know that this distance from cone E to the hole under the trapdoor is the same as the distance from cone E to the north anchor, which is 444 feet. And we can calculate the distances from the 429 extension to the hole under the trapdoor. So it is doing some pretty amazing things. If this location is right, this is what it is doing. Another one is too, as it goes, this line that goes from this point through this point comes down, and it goes through to the 522. This is the entrance of where the tunnel is that goes to shut off the flood system on the east side, which is called La Hump. It shuts down the flood tunnel systems coming from Smith's Cove and the South Shore. So I was sort of embarrassed to come and share this because I don't know for sure if this is where the quadrilateral is. If the quadrilateral is here and it is positioned the way that Brian Farrow showed, and it has these exact or very close to these coordinates for the corners, then it is a highly significant, or was a highly significant landmark. It is very much tied into Nolan's stone piles because that is basically one of the things that Nolan stone piles did is it referenced the 429 and the cone A, and those are very significant in the east side of the island. So I don't know what to say. Is that it's just amazing that every time something comes up, uh, it seems to fit into the Rochefoucauld map and the vault theory. Um, I would almost be relieved if this was very much well located in this position, and it would basically give us a pretty good confirmation of how the geometry, at least in the standpoint of a uh, landmark, was basically determined or laid out to get this position. Now, this once you resolve the position of the hole under the trap door and triangle 2, then it's just a matter of uh, basically figuring out the parallelogram and the parallelogram to the valve, and you also get the position of the where I believe the second location. This is where you go underground to access the flood tunnel shutoff on the west side of the island. And I did a video on that because this is a parallelogram, and this is a parallelogram on Nolan's Cross, the extension to the north anchor. And the headstone is the clue that tells you that it's in the middle of the parallelogram on the west side. So we have two entrances, one here, perhaps, and we have one here, which is where you have to dig 40 feet in order to get down to the level. You get down to 40 feet, and then you dig at a 45-degree angle to get to this entrance, which by calculating the distance from La Formula, it ends up being down to a depth of 148 feet, which would be where the valve is. It would be 148 feet. You would dig down 40 feet, and then at a 45-degree angle, you enter this entrance right here, and this entrance would angle down to another 108 feet, and that is where La Hump would be the first valve to shut off the flood tunnel systems from Smith's Cove and the South Shore, which would be at 148 feet. So this is something that is very intriguing to me. I would really like to know the real position of the quadrilateral, if this is truly in this position, it's highly significant. Well, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.